Hey everyone, GameHounds podcast. Sorry we are a little bit late, and you will notice that I am not looking like I normally am, and neither is my background. I am at my cousin's ranch in lovely San Lucas, California. And so I was just down here for the day, and they have really good internet at this, finally, now that they have Starlink. So Nick and I are still prepping for the show. I'm on my laptop, so I'm a little bit slow to get everything going. Hey, we got AC Wraith. Hi, AC Wraith. Thank you for reminding everyone of the Patreon. So that you're just joining us for the first time, this is GameHounds. We're doing our pre-show prep, putting together stuff. How are you doing, AC Wraith? Having a good weekend? And yes, I am. This is the drink of choice today because it is daytime. We are drinking Lagunitas Daytime IPA, which is a light beer, but it's actually quite good. What are you? There's so much. Oh my God, there's so much Wizards of the Coast stuff. The saga freaking continues. And hey, you got Vice. Hey, yo, Vice, what's up? How are you? You finished Spider-Man. What's your opinion, AC Wraith, of Spider-Man? Was it all that and a bucket of wings? Let's see, what else do I have as far as games are concerned? Now I want to do news. What do you have? I'm looking to see. Okay. Sorry if we're quiet. How have you been, Nick?
Oops.
Do you have the thing about crystal dynamics?
No,
Okay.
I didn't hear about that.
All right. And I've got that, and you don't. Oh, you have so much news. Look at all you, Nick. You have so
Mm-hmm.
much news. What a good soldier you are. What else? What else? What else do I have? I was trying through the week to kind of stock up stories because I knew it was going to be down here and it'd be difficult. Yeah. Do you have a thing about Skull and Bones?
More things other than it being delayed again?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. Yes, I have that too. All right. So I've got all my banners. I don't have many stories. So don't have Nick, you don't have to go nuts. We're already looking at a really long show just based on what you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else is going on in the comments? Yeah, like I said, Vice is here. We've got Blood Reaper here. Hi. AC Ray says Spider-Man was really good, especially in story where comic game tends to count. But the PC port still needs work, and I'm not sure it's going to get it. Oh. So you played it PC. What? Do you have any consoles, AC Ray? I don't recall you ever saying that you have a console.
I think he played on PC.
Yeah, but I don't even know that AC Wraith has a console.
No, probably not.
Oh, you know what else we played? We played Extraction. Did you write down Extraction? We played
Oh,
Extraction. Everybody,
did I?
if you watch Twitch, you know that we played Extraction. Although I have some thoughts about it now that we've come back to it, which I wouldn't mind addressing. So I guess I'll bring it up. Because, of course, when was the last time we played it? We played it quite some time ago, and have come back to it because of Chris. All right. So, can we start the show, or is there anything holding you up, or you have anything else to add?
No.
Your last console was the PS2 and Dreamcast? Wow, that's impressive. Don't blame you. I mean, PC gaming. I say this as somebody who is a dyed-in-the-wool um, console gamer. That PC games are by far superior. Anything else? What did you find funny? The fact that his last console was the PS2 and the Dreamcast? You don't still have them, do you? The Dreamcast would be awesome to have.
Do I still have my Dreamcast? No, I think I probably got rid of it.
You know?
I bought it after they discontinued it because it was very easy.
Probably cheap.
It was cheap and it was very easy to pirate games for.
Mm-hmm.
So it became like, I'll spend $50 on a console and then get free games. But I could never.
It's a good deal.
I got a couple games, but I could never find the game that I wanted because this is like pre-torrent days. This is old school pirating.
He says, sure does. He's got it with quite a few games. What was the game you really wanted that you couldn't find?
It was a video game version of the Berserk manga. And I think it was called like Sword of the Berserk or something like that. And I couldn't find it. Could not find it on a old school peer-to-peer software direct connect.
Oh, wow. Back in the LimeWire days.
I never used LimeWire.
Really? I still have it on my computer.
I used Kazaa.
Oh, Kazaa. Oh my god.
Yeah, you remember Kazaa.
And of course Napster. Everybody used Napster.
Oh yes, I remember. God, this feels old. When Napster first was like getting big, I was like in junior high or something, and I didn't actually have a computer of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried that like, oh man, people are going to sue Napster into oblivion before I get a chance to get a computer and download all these songs.
I still have a bunch of songs that I downloaded off Napster and on my computer.
I don't, but because I lost the MP3s. But what I did do, I burned a lot of CDs. And
okay. So they're all still there.
I have like a CD case in my car that's just filled, a double wide CD case that's just filled with.
Do you even have
albums.
a CD player in your car?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I should actually put it in a CD player. I always just plug my phone in and listen to podcasts. I should put in a CD every now and then.
You know, you should take those CDs out of your car because you will be very sad if you lose them all.
Mm-hmm. I should just rip them into the computer.
And you should rip them into the computer. Absolutely, you should rip them into the computer. But also that you should put that case away and not in your car because that's a good way to lose that case. Vice says, my last console was a PS3 and it was such a shit show. Yeah, I feel that. It was such a shit show that I did not buy anything Sony ever since. My Xbox never appealed to me either, and Nintendo was just bloody words I can't use because of, YouTube. Pardon the language. Yeah. Honestly, it's a shame you didn't go to Xbox because Xbox is, and am I back? There we go. Am I back yet?
Wait. Yes. Okay. Now you are.
No. There we go. Elon Musk. Yeah. Elon Musk strikes again. Xbox was and is a very, very different experience than PlayStation. It was the reason why I preferred Xboxes to PlayStations, even when PlayStation had a superior product, uh, because it's so much more social. Even to this day, it's so much more social. And I'm really
It,
surprised that even
it
with the PlayStation
was.
4 and the PlayStation 5, PlayStation still has an element to it that is not of just random people talking to each other. It's not really, it hasn't changed. There's still that element of like a lot of people really don't play with headsets or really don't play with
I
earphones, whereas
I don't
Xbox,
think that's a
everybody
console
did and
thing.
does.
I don't think that's a console
It
thing.
was
I
originally.
well, back in the 360, Xbox was the most
Mm-hmm.
social one because it came with a headset
Because
and it came with a
PS
surprisingly
and
good
PS3
headset.
was terrible.
Yes.
Right. And
But
PS3 was like, we're not going to ship with a headset, but everything is Bluetooth, but nobody actually used it. Never
yes.
used that functionality.
Um but ever since then the dynamics of online gaming have changed such that unless you're with a group or unless you want to specifically play like with strangers, no one talks. No one talks in online games, whether on PlayStation or Xbox. No one talks.
Yeah, true. I'm sorry about that too. Vice is in grumpy old man today mode today. That's all right. As a grumpy old woman, I give you permission. Isura says, I have that Berserk game. It made me interested,
Mm,
but it's a side story that takes place past the Band of the Falcon era, so I never got into the franchise.
oh yeah. See, I had read enough of the manga at that point, also pirated manga at that
Mm-hmm.
point. Um, that like I knew what happened after the Band of the Hawks arc.
Yeah. And Vice says, I had a friend who had an Xbox when I had a PS3, and he had about the same issues, same amount of issues. Yeah, it was same amount, but different kinds of issues. It's
Yeah,
like if you took the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 and put them together, they would make one very good console.
look, you can talk about all like how the 360 was a very user friendly console that had good headsets and all that, and the PS3 was kind of a weird thing. But let's not forget about the Red Ring of Death.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when they brought in the new player experience, the original UI of the original Xbox 360 was awesome. And then the more they messed with it, the worse it became. And to this day, I think the current UI for the Xbox Series X is the worst of all of them.
No, it's not. It's
Not the
not
worst,
the worst.
but it's nowhere close to good. It's still kind of a shit show.
Yeah. I like the original. I think it was called the NXC, where it was just left and right. You go up and
Mm-hmm,
down. You go left and right. They've
mm-hmm.
they've tried to bring that back now,
Right.
um, but they've still got a lot of tiles, and it's still kind of confusing the way the
Microsoft is just
navigation
into
works.
those freaking tiles, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Nope.
And Vice says, yeah, he agrees with you about the fact that it's like, yeah, it's a really good console, but let's not forget the Red Ring of Death. And he said,
Yeah.
yep, glass half empty. Mm-hmm. The old AC Ray says the only Red Ring of I faced was a PS2 mech strategy game stuck on Iron Man mode.
Ring of
Yeah,
Red is a
I
mech game.
I never got a
Oh,
Red
I'm
Ring of
thinking.
Death.
I'm
And I
thinking
had the
Rule of
original
War.
chipset. I had the original 360 chipset, and I still have that console. And it was one of the few that did not red ring on me. I somehow, some way, dodged all the bullets, and we because we bought multiple consoles, never had a red ring.
Nice.
So, yeah, lucked out. Anyways, let's start the show, okay? Oh, we did
Okay.
start the show. Well, we started the podcast, the broadcast, the video broadcast. We're going to start the show. So yeah, thank you for the Red Ring of Death. As if we needed a Wikipedia article to remind us of what the red ring of death was. Hey, Bitters is in the chat room. Welcome, Bitters. Again, apologies for my less than stellar appearance. I'm up at my family's ranch and I didn't shower today because I'm an idiot. I could have, I just chose not to. All right. Can't think of anything else we have to do before the show. We're certainly now enough minutes in that if somebody says a bad word, it's not going to shut the show down. Where am I going? I am going here. There we go. Music. Excellent. Don't loop it, please. All right, and we're starting the show.
This podcast discusses video games, modern culture, and technology, and these podcasters are big fat potty mouths. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 667. We are recording this Sunday, January 22nd, 2023. I am Edie Sellers. With me was Nikki Nicola, but then as soon as the music started to play, he disappeared. So something apparently happened. I hope everything's okay, Nick. I'm not hearing him, so he took off his headset. I don't see flames. That's a good thing. I don't hear any horrible, stuff in the background. So maybe he's still alive. We don't know. Anyway, we got the full chat room here. By the way, if it sounds a little strange, it is because I am at my cousin's ranch in the Central Valley of California. I just came down for the day. They just left to go to visit some other friends, and so I'm in the place by myself. So that's why it sounds kind of empty. And I'm in the kitchen, and of course, there's no place in the whole place that has carpets because it's got all Italian tile through it, so it's all bouncing off the walls and everything. And I'm on my earbuds, so. That's why my microphone sounds a little strange. Hi, Nick. Welcome back.
Hi.
Everything okay?
Yes, I had heard a bunch of banging around on the outside, and I was like, what are the cats doing? But turns out there was a maintenance person in here to fix the bathroom leak.
Cats are off the hook.
Yes.
All right, so let's see. Yeah, I look lovely as always. Bitter says, no sarcasm. Thank you for that. I don't feel lovely. I feel like I was up until 2:00 in the morning, which I was, taking pictures of the sky, which I was, because it was a new moon and I was in one of the darker places in California. So that's kind of cool. What was this? Blood Reaper, there's a comment in the chat room. What the hell is going on here? Was that a mistype or what? So
no, it's a compliment.
Oh, is it? Is that what I look like today? So Nick, what did you play this week?
Okay, I will start just right off. I played a game called Thymesia. I don't really know exactly how to pronounce it. It is a Souls-like game because, I'm a glutton for punishment. But this one was too punishing. So, Souls-like game, actually, this is better described as a Bloodborne-esque game, a Bloodborne-like. A blood-like, a born-like, I don't know what you would say, because it takes a lot of its inspiration visually directly from Bloodborne, as opposed to the more gothic fantasy of Dark Souls. And it takes its combat lessons from Bloodborne as well, in that it's a fairly fast-paced game. What's kind of neat about it is, instead of just having a light attack and a heavy attack, and they just do damage, and enemies just have health. The way combat works is if you do a light attack, that lowers their their health, but then they still have like a reserve. And so you can hurt them a lot and it takes down part of their health bar, but there's like a little green bar that's left. If you don't attack them again, that green bar fills back up. So if you just use the light attacks, you'll take down the first part of that bar, but then it'll just fill back up again. You have to do the
Right.
heavy attack to basically make that damage sink in and make it permanent. So you're constantly switching between the two. Use a light attack to bring down the first part of the health bar, then use a heavy attack to make that damage permanent. And that's a really neat system. Maybe I should stream it. It looks like you're getting
Oh, really?
you're getting a frame every 5 seconds.
Okay, all right. I will turn mine off and you go ahead and you share your screen. Remember, look for gameplay, no commentary. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of other things. Riveting podcasting
okay.
right now.
Anyways, so it's a neat combat system because it kind of forces you to constantly switch back and forth between the heavy attack and light attacks. The problem is, and I've actually done research on this, the first big boss that you fight is one of the most absurd difficulty spikes I've ever seen in gaming. Even for a game this.
Did you play, what was that Spiders game, the most recent Spiders
Greedfall.
game? Did you play Greedfall? Because
No,
I
I
had
didn't.
that same problem with Greedfall. That's one of the hardest bosses you fight is the boss to get out of the tutorial area and start the game.
I have that. It was like a free game on PlayStation some time ago. Maybe I'll play that next. I've wanted to play that. Just to compare it. But so I played this boss for a couple hours, continually getting close, but never quite clicking. It's the worst kind of boss fight in that the game doesn't telegraph its moves such that you can see what it's doing, right? It's not like it's gonna wind back an attack and then do something. And so when you can't see what it's doing, that makes dodging or parrying super difficult because it feels like every time it attacks, there's a random set of moves it could do. And I always have to get hit once just to know what pattern of attack or parrying do I have to do to stop the next few moves from hurting me. Because the boss was just super fast. Let me see if I can find him. It just moved so fast that it felt like any sort of attempt to learn its patterns was overly difficult. And I've looked up online other people talking about this. I guess when this game came out, the reviews were kind of all over the place. A bunch of 9s and then a bunch of 3s. And a lot of the speculation for people on Reddit is that has to do with this first boss, where if you have a hard time on this first boss, that's just going to stick with you throughout the whole rest of the game. Right. But if the combat really clicks for you, then it doesn't quite sour your experience the same way.
Right. Yeah, I have the same thing about Greedfall, that I almost did not go past Greedfall's tutorial area simply because of that first boss. It was so impossibly hard that it made me angry at the game, and I had to really dumb it down completely, like to basically story mode in order to get past it. And it made me angry for a very long time after that game, after I got past that boss.
Yeah, and this game doesn't have.
And then it ended up being that the rest of the game was not super easy, but much more reasonably playable.
And that's also what I've seen about this game is a lot of people on Reddit say this boss and the final boss are really hard. You beat this guy, you're pretty much in it for the rest of the game. The rest of the game is easy.
Yeah,
after
downhill
this
from
boss.
Yeah, and
And
I've never understood that, because you are bringing in a very, very, very hard boss at a period of time in the player's gameplay where they are least prepared to be able to handle that. You have no skills, you have no level ups, you're the lowest level possible. It's 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 just almost mean to do to somebody, and not mean in the fun way that Dark Souls is mean to its players, but just flat out just mean, hateful almost to players because of that.
yeah, and so like you were saying about Greedfall, this game really, that boss really soured me on the entire experience, and I ended up just deleting the game. But now I feel like I will forever be a nemesis to this developer, and
Hmm.
I just hate them with a giant passion.
Yeah, it's funny. It's such a subtle line between hating a developer because they made such a hard boss, but hating hate love hate versus hate. It's a real subtle difference, and that absolutely happened. Sounds like it happened with this game.
Yes, because like I've played fast games before, like Sekiro
Dark
at
Souls.
times. No, like Dark Souls, whatever. Dark Souls is a breeze. Dark Souls is a piece of cake compared to some other games. Sekiro is easily one of the hardest games I've ever played, and that game infuriated me at times. Like I was worried I would break a controller by just like twisting it in my hands. Like I would squeeze it and it would break like you see people do with glasses in movies.
Hmm.
Um, but I come away from that game respecting it so hard because it felt like behind the difficulty there was a lot of intelligent design. And I don't know if I got that same sense from this boss fight. It just felt confusing.
Hmm.
So, yeah, and uh I will forever not like this developer because they basically took a really cool idea. The combat system is really neat. The aesthetics of the game
Yeah,
are
it's
really neat.
gorgeous.
Uh they took all that and they just kind of shat on it with a, I think, is a poorly designed first boss fight.
That's a shame. So, all right. So that's your review of Thymesia. Anything else?
I am very, very close to finishing Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Hmm.
I think I'm basically one mission from the end, but I chose not to do it last night because I spent the night researching how to back up digital comics after a wave of layoffs at Amazon kind of gutted their comicsology department.
Mm, yeah,
So
I can see that.
my fear is, oh no, they fired a lot of people from this department after like merging apps that people hate. Th- They merged in apps, people hated it, then they laid off a bunch of people. The fear is, oh, it's probably not long for this world. So I'm trying to figure out ways to pirate all my Kindle comics.
Mm. All right. Well, it makes sense.
Hmm.
Anything else? By the way, with the Midnight Suns, is it still stands because you came into it really liking it,
Hmm.
and then not so much because there was inconsistency between combat and story. That the combat, what happened in the combat, was not projected through the rest of the story.
Yes, I would never say that I stopped liking it. It's just
Hmm.
that, the fifth or sixth time I win a fight and then there's a cutscene and the characters lose the fight, you start to just like roll your eyes at it. But
Hmm.
the game itself is still really, really good. The characters are still really fun. The combat is still really, really cool. I, I'm almost disappointed that I'm getting close to the end because I'm so close to getting to level 5 of friendship with a bunch of people, and then you unlock their special abilities and special Midnight Suns costumes. And I want to see what those costumes are. I want to see what those abilities are.
So, anything else other than those two?
Then there's more Marvel Snap on the phone. I
Hmm.
continue to play that every day, in kind of a good casual way, right? There are daily missions that you do to kind of earn credits, and you use those credits to level up cards. And so my sort of process of playing it is play it enough, complete those daily missions to get the credits, but then I don't really play too much beyond that because I'm not getting resources. So it's like
Mhm.
play a little bit every day, get some credits, level up a card, come back the next day. And it's just a really, really good pattern. I actually, what I will say about Marvel Snap is for a long time I was worried that as I played more and as I got newer cards and better cards, that I would get into a rut of, all right, I have now earned the cards. I've earned all the good cards, right? The strong cards. And now I've got my deck, my badass deck of cards that
Mhm.
is going to wipe the floor. And that the fun of deck building and the fun of, oh, what I'm going to take this character and put them with this character and see how they play off of each other, that fun would disappear because now I've just got my standard super efficient, super optimized deck.
Right.
That has not been the case. I have found that I've gotten enough cards that are really neat that I have like a collection of decks. Well, this one is good for doing X. This one's good for doing
Mhm.
Y. This one's good for doing Z. And each of them, uh, none of them is better optimized over the other one. All of them
Mhm.
feel like very, very viable in competition and in matches. It
Right.
doesn't feel like I'm sacrificing winning by playing a fun deck. And that's a really good feeling to basically open the app and go, I kind of feel like playing a discard deck today, or I kind of feel like doing this other type of deck today to kind of have enough that I could change up the play style depending on my mood.
Mhm.
And I think the game encourages that because it has enough uh, random elements to it. Uh, the locations that you play at are randomized, and sometimes they'll have featured locations that appear more often. And in the past week, a lot of people have been complaining because there was this location called Rickety Bridge, where just like if you imagine, think of the end of Temple of Doom, where if I
Mhm.
play a card on my side and you play a card on your side, they both get destroyed because it's like the Rickety Bridge. It falls. But if I
Mhm.
play card on my side, it's okay. If I play another card on my side, it's okay. The moment you put another card over there, everything goes to shit.
Interesting.
And it's a really people hate it. There's been so much complaining online about this is the worst thing. It sucks. But what's fun about the game and what I think is so neat about it is you can build a deck designed to counter that. You can build a deck designed to take advantage of that ability. Where if
Right.
you play a card here and then it gets destroyed, it goes back into your hand with a zero cost. So that then becomes free to play it later. Or
Mhm.
there's one card that it's very weak, but if it gets destroyed, it comes back stronger. So if you play that on Rickety Bridge on turn 5 out of 6 and someone else plays something, then turn 6 comes and all of a sudden you have a strong card there, but theirs is destroyed. And it's like
Right.
you none of these locations, like for all the negative attributes of them, you can always turn those negative attributes to your advantage if you just play around it. But I think a lot of
It becomes an opportunity and not a detriment, not an
yes.
impediment.
And I think to my disappointment and my fear is that a game like this eventually becomes popular enough. Um, Content creators, streamers play the game so much, they're always looking for that optimized thing, right? There's always going to be a type of player that wants the optimization. And I think this game is good because it fights against that. You cannot
Mhm.
have a perfectly optimized deck,
Right.
but it feels like a lot of people don't want that, or a lot of people think that it's just a lot. It seems like a lot of people when they encounter Rickety Bridge is a featured location, so it's going to come up more this week. They don't
Mhm.
change their strategy. They're just like, well, I've got my optimized deck, so I'm just going to play this over and over again and get really angry that it's no longer super efficient. And it's frustrating to see a bunch of people complain about the game when it feels like they are so clearly playing it wrong.
That's good game design. That the game is constantly causing you to evolve and never get into a rut.
Yes, and I enjoy that. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So I'm continually enjoying my time with it. I'm continually enjoying the chaos that comes from some of the locations and some of the cards and everything.
Mm-hmm. In the comments, Vice about Thymesia was that I feel a lot of JRPGs have difficulty in pacing issues like Thymesia. Basic story snooze fest, then boss drops in and it's got 20 million HP and 2 shots your party.
Yeah, I remember encountering that a lot. And what's frustrating there in a JRPG is that their solution is, well, go grind for 5 hours and get stronger.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is just as
And at
bad.
the beginning of the game, and I'm going back to the one time that I had that experience with God dang it, I can't remember the name again. Greedfall.
Greedfall.
Is that there was no opportunity for you to grind because it was the tutorial area. So you couldn't grind. You had no choice but to try to figure out how to get through that or just drop it down to story mode and,
See, at
easy
least
mode your way through it.
at least that game had a story mode. At least it had an easy mode.
Yeah, true. That doesn't even have that. So that's not actually worse. Yeah, Vice agrees. Vice totally agrees. All right, so any other games that you played?
That is it.
All right, so my games, well, we went back to Rainbow Six Extraction. You would know that if you had checked us out on Twitch. We played with Chris, and then I played with Chris. I had some days were better than others. I only bring up Rainbow Six Extraction because it is a very old game at this point, but it still is a lot of fun. But the reason why I bring it up is because we returned to it after not playing it for months and months and months, a really long time. I want to say almost a year. And I noticed that when we went back to it this time, it used to be that the easiest mode was good, and then as you increase difficulty, the jump in difficulty was massive. Like if
Oh,
you were making it on level 1, if you moved up to level 2, you were fucked until you got shit together, and things could go very, very bad very, very quickly. And Chris and I could not two-man level 3. And I was playing with him this time, and it was just you and me, him and me, when it was just when you hadn't joined yet. And we were doing really well together, and everything was butter. And when it would be over, that's when I would realize, oh my gosh, this was in severe. This is There's no way we would have been able to two-man that. I think that they rebalanced that game to make it slightly easier. In addition, they have added a microtransaction, which yes, I bought because Chris bought it and I saw what it was. It's what I call the oh shit harness. I think it's called a repulsion harness. That it's fairly inexpensive to buy, but of course you have to buy the 500 coin pack and use 200 of it. So it's waste of money in some ways, but you didn't have any choice. That is something I think that they needed to have in the game originally. Was it's a harness that if you used it, it would repel all enemies that were crowding you away from you and destroy them. So it would room clear essentially. And it was a thermonuclear device that kills everything around you and gets you that breathing room if things go horribly wrong, and they still do. That being said, that was the first night I played with him two man. The next night I played with him two man, I was doing terrible. I was having a horrible night and
Hmm.
everything went wrong. Things that should have been easy weren't, which made me think that maybe I was just having a really on night. But I think that they did, that they actually adjusted the difficulty, which is a good thing that they did because if I ever had any complaints about that game, and one of the reasons why when Chris isn't on, I don't play the game is because of that difficulty curve with regards to the difficulty settings. Unless you're playing on baby mode, you're gonna have a challenge. And I think we've only tried once the most difficult mode, and it was almost instant death for all of us as a three man, because three men's or the maximum amount of people you can have on a team is three. So as a three man, which honestly I really like the fact that you have a three man team because there's not a lot of games out there that are three man. A lot of
Yeah,
four mans, a lot of
most
two
things are
mans,
four.
not a lot of three mans. Yeah. So, yeah, so there was that. And then the other game that I picked up new, that I picked up, oh, and I do want to mention I did finish Pentiment and still stand by it, that it is such a good game. The story is so good. It is written so well. And even though it is text-based, it is still challenging. It is still interesting. And when you complete it, you feel like you've kind of completed a game as opposed to most text games when you feel like you've just read your game. Cannot recommend that game enough. And you and I talked, like texted back and forth after I finished it for like an hour afterwards about the different decisions that we made and how your game was different than mine. What was really interesting to me was how your game was so similar to mine, even though you made different decisions.
Hmm.
Some of the decisions did not feel at the end as consequential as I thought that they might be. Um, they only show up at the very end in a piece of, like at the very, very, very end when it just kind of goes through the final, the final person that you're with is working on a piece of art, and what has happened in the story is reflected in the artwork. And it seemed like it was really some of them, I mean, all of them, your decisions and all of the things that happen are reflected in the artwork, but some of them don't affect the story as much as you think they might. But that being said, hands down, I mean, I bought it. I think it was $14 to buy it.
Oh
I
yeah,
spent the $14, even though I'm not going to go, probably not going to go back. Oh, I'm certainly not going to go back and play this game
and that's
because I
after
wanted.
you played it on Game Pass.
After I played it on Game Pass for free, I spent $14.99 on it because I want them to have that money because that's how good that game is. I want them to have the money for it, and I want the powers that be to see that people are willing to pay for this shit. So that may make more good, interesting, small, clever games as opposed to, gigantic AAA titles that are exactly the same as some other AAA title and, following trends. And the other game that I played, and I picked it up, this was on Game Pass. I picked it up because it was, and I would appreciate if you pull up the link for it so that you can put it on the screen because it's hard to describe. And
Okay.
it was suggested to me because I played Pentiment, and it is on Game Pass. It's something called Alchemist Simulator. And it is a really interesting game that it takes you a little while to figure out what it's doing, but when you do figure out what it's doing, you realize what a unique take it is on these simulator games. You are an alchemist. You are just opened your alchemy shop. You have a bedroom, you have your alchemy lab, you have your shop, and you have what they call an enchanted garden, and then you have a basement with an alchemy machine in the basement that's broken. And each time you go through it, you play a day. That is not it.
This isn't it?
That is not it.
This is Alchemist Simulator.
That is not it. What is the game that I got? Maybe it's Alchemy Simulator?
Is it like Potion Craft?
It is Potion Craft.
Okay. That was the other thing that came up with
Let me
oh,
see what it is.
it looks like it's called
Oh,
Potion
I'm
Craft.
sorry. It's called Potion Craft Alchemist Simulator. That's it. Potion Craft Alchemist Simulator. Thank you for clarifying that, and I will fix that right now. That's it right there. Potion Craft Comp. There we go. That's probably why they had to make the name what it was, because they probably realized they were working on two different games. You go through the process of creating these potions, and stirring, each ingredient has a path that it gives you. And as you stir it, that is where you are going, your potion symbol goes through that path. And it will actually create a potion when you land on something that indicates that a potion is being created. Meanwhile, all along that path are these little book symbols, and each of those represent an XP, skill up XP. And grinding the ingredient extends the path. So as you can see on this, I'm sorry for people that are listening on the podcast. As you can see, you've got this path and this X that moves along. And where the X is where that potion will end when you stir. And you can combine different ingredients that have different paths to get to, and it's on this map essentially, to get to the symbol that actually creates a potion. And when you get to that symbol to create the potion is created, you get XP for creating the potion. Meanwhile, you take those potions and you can sell them in your shop. And there's going to be each day a lineup of people who are asking for different kinds of potions. So you want to give them the potion that they want. And you can combine different effects. Like, say if you want to build a health and strength potion, you would have to put all the ingredients in that would get you to that direction, or get you to the health, and then continue to add ingredients to get you to strength, and then create the potion. And it is really a puzzle game. Ultimately, it's a puzzle game because you can use multiple different potions to get there. And there are places on that map that if you run into them, then your potion is destroyed. So you have to avoid certain things to create this path. And then maybe sometimes you don't have the right ingredient to go the direction you want, but you can combine other ingredients and just use them, stir them a little bit, or just grind them a little bit to get them to partially up that path to kind of level your way up. And then you're using a lot of ingredients that way, but sometimes that's what you've got. Your enchanted garden each day gives you random ingredients to add to your stock. So you're always getting new ingredients, and then you can buy them from people that come to your shop that offer ingredients. And I've just gotten the alchemy machine in the basement fixed. I still can't figure out how to use the alchemy machine. It doesn't explain it to you. So you kind of have to trial and error to figure out how does this work and what is this going to do. And yes, you can haggle with your customers. Yes, you can. There's skill ups that you use the points that you gain from making potions and getting these XPs on making haggling easier, and making the potions easier, or getting better prices from people that are selling you stuff. So it's surprisingly interesting because even though it lists it touts itself by its name as an alchemist simulator, ultimately it really is a puzzle game.
Yeah, because it looks like you're trying to get to these nodes on the map.
Right, the nodes, that's a
And
very good way of putting it. Yeah.
and all of the ingredients are like, this goes to the left, this goes to the right, this goes down, this goes up. And so you're
This
like,
goes all the way to the left and then comes back to the right. This goes zigzag down. This goes zigzag up and then moves over to the right. As
yeah.
each
And then
ingredient, as
depending
these
on
ingredients get more complicated, the motion becomes more interesting.
yeah, and then depending on how much you grind it, that's how far along that path you'll move. So it's a matter of mixing ingredients, mixing grinding in order to create the path that you want.
Right.
That's
To get the places that you want, collect the most amount of XP if you can along the way, while avoiding these areas that will destroy your potion if you hit them.
is there a
Sometimes
limit?
you can just barely graze it and almost destroy your potion and get back.
Is there a limit to how many potions you can make in a day?
No, you can make as many potions as you want as long as you have the ingredients for them.
Okay.
And the yeah, it's no limit on that. It's a it took me a while to figure out that it was these paths that determined whether a potion was made. But once I did, then it became really challenging because it's like, oh, I don't have enough of this ingredient to go to the right. I could use one of them, but if I do, then I'll run out of those ingredients, and I have no other ingredient in my inventory that goes to the left. So maybe I can use the one that kind of veers up and then to the left, and then one that veers down and a little bit to the left. And like I said, you're going to use a lot of more ingredients that way, but you can get there if you want. So there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to this. But it's a surprisingly fun game, surprisingly relaxing also, because there's no time limit. Like if somebody comes to your store and wants a health potion or wants a strength potion, and you need to make one, you've got an unlimited amount of time to make one. So I've had potions that it took me 15 minutes to get where I needed to go because I didn't have exactly the right ingredients, and I just kind of had to nudge it along certain ways. So I've been able to, I've had to take a long time to serve a single customer. But the nice thing is the customers will always wait. So it's not timed at all.
Okay.
There's nothing where it makes you go, oh God, I gotta hurry, gotta hurry, gotta hurry. No,
It's like,
it's
I want this potion
strictly,
in 3 days.
yeah, strictly figuring it out. I mean, they want that potion today, but your day doesn't end
Mm,
until you go to bed.
okay.
Yeah, which is why you have a bedroom.
That
So
sounds really cool. And this is also on Game Pass?
Ace is on Game Pass.
I'll have to check this out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely check it out. It's a nice departure from a lot of the action games that we've been playing lately. This is a good way to kind of wind down at the end of the night, as just do a day or two. And sometimes it's only one day because there's that one person. It's like, I have the ingredients for this, but I can't screw it up because if I do, I won't have the ingredients for this person, and then I'll have to send them away angry.
Hmm.
When they do that, they send them to go away angry. Enough angry customers, it reduces the community opinion of your shop. Higher community opinion means you get more money. Lower community opinion means that you have to charge less for your potions. So you don't want to turn away any customers that you possibly can, because sometimes you do have to turn away a customer because you absolutely don't have the ingredients, or you haven't yet discovered the potion that they're looking for.
That's cool.
So you spend, like for me at the beginning, I was spend some of the time like a couple of days just servicing customers to get enough money up and to get enough stock, ingredient stock. And then I would, at the end of the day, or even before the day started, grind down on the map just to get more nodes that create more potions. The other thing is that you have a potion book that you can save your potion. And it will save the ingredients that you used to make that potion that time. And it has a limited amount of pages. And you can buy more pages, but they're very expensive. So say that you create a health potion using one set of ingredients. When you save it, if you create another health potion that uses fewer ingredients or more common ingredients, less expensive ingredients, you save that again, it creates another page. So then you have to delete the first one. So yeah, I recommend it. If you're into puzzle games, this is a really good puzzle game.
Yeah.
That touts itself as a simulator, but it's really about the puzzle. And you can see he's getting super close to those bones. That's where the potion would get destroyed. And sometimes you can just barely touch it and it's not quite destroyed.
He's got to figure out a way to get around it.
Exactly. He has to figure out which will make it and still get the direction he wants. So yeah, recommend. Go play it if you can. AC Ray, thank you for the link to that. Yeah, thank you also. Yeah. You said equivalent exchange. What would that be?
No, that's a reference to Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he also says it's currently 20% off on Steam.
How much is it on Steam? What's the price?
Oh.
Because, 20% off of $90, that game's not worth it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Potion Craft is not $90.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think it's $20.
I'd say, yeah, 20% off at $20, that would be $4 off. So it'd be $16. I'd say this is a good $10 game. I think $20 is a bit much. If that's the price.
And this is for you. This is not something to jump on now, but just something to keep in mind later, since you really like Pentiment. Remember how I said the other week that the game I was playing, Pillars of Eternity, was written by the same guy that wrote Pentiment?
I'm going to play that game.
Apparently, both of them are on Game Pass PC.
Oh.
The first game and its sequel are on. They're only on
Good
Game Pass
know.
PC. So yeah, I just stumbled across him.
I'm going to be playing Pillars of Eternity this week because I was so impressed with Pentiment.
Yeah. So yeah, now you don't have to go buy it.
So AC Ray says normally $15. This is a $15 game. So at $12, actually $15 is like, that's right at the limit of where I would spend money on this. You have to look at it and go, oh yeah, I'd really love this game. Spend $15. $12, I would feel more comfortable with. $10, it's a absolute buy it now moment.
It's $20 on Xbox.
Interesting.
Maybe it's just
buy it on Steam.
Console tax.
Buy it on Steam. Console tax is right. So yeah, those are my games, and yeah, that's what I did. Anything else before we move on to news?
No, I'm just browsing. I'm browsing Game Pass at the moment and thinking, God, I really need to finish Midnight Sun so that I can go play something different. Oh wait, is Solasta, Crown of the Magister, is also on Game Pass.
Is it?
Yeah.
For console or PC?
I think it's both because it doesn't specify PC.
I believe I kickstarted that, so I may actually have a copy too today.
I was looking at buying that. Okay, maybe I should play more PC games. I should
And
just
I
play more Game
believe
Pass
Celeste, Queen
games.
of the Magister is multiplayer. It's essentially a D&D game.
Yeah, I don't. Is it multiplayer?
I believe because we played it at PAX, and I believe it was multiplayer because it's
Oh
a
yeah,
D&D party.
it's playable on the consoles too.
We
I
may
don't
have to
know
play that
how
together.
effective that is, but it's
Yeah.
okay. Pillars of Eternity 2 is only PC. Pillars of Eternity is available on. Why are the details? Is only okay. Pillars of Eternity is only on PC.
Okay.
Still
So
though,
maybe we should play Celeste, Queen of the Magister this week.
yeah. Oh, one game. Let me look this up. I found a YouTube video of it, and it just looked so gloriously stupid that I desperately want to play it with you. It's a fighting game called Wanba Warriors.
Oh, you told me about this. All right, so tell me why we should play this
I
week.
sent you a text at like 3 in the
Yes.
morning
Yes, you did.
because I was watching
Oh.
this. Basically, all you do is you only move you a little guy with like a big stick, a spear, and you
Uh-huh.
rotate that spear around you 360 degrees, and that's how you move. So you have to like
Oh, I'd hate this game. I would
it
hate this
like
game.
moving is kind of weird, and you just want to smash the other people with your little hammer. But each character has kind of abilities. Some people can shoot stuff out of their little hammer. Some people can call lightning down.
Oh, wow.
It
This
looks
looks silly and stupid, and I'd hate it. But I'll play it with
it
you.
looks a lot like Star Wars. You remember
Yeah,
that game?
it was Narwhal.
No, it was Star Wars.
Narwhal.
Star Wars. It had a star in it.
We will let the there was one that was Narwhal, wasn't there? Which was two narwhals that fight against each other
Yeah,
with the spears.
that's Star Wars.
Oh, it was Starwall. You're right. You're right. You're right. I
Yes,
take that back.
I know because I kind of love that game. It's such a wonderfully stupid game.
Yeah, this looks wonderfully stupid. This looks like a game I would much prefer to watch someone else playing as opposed to me playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's we'll be playing that. We'll be playing that, and you will win every single one because I'm terrible at those kind of
Yes,
games.
but also I was like, oh, it's only $2 on Steam. That's
Yeah, Bitter
appropriate.
says I was about to mention Starwall. And Vice says Pillars is insane, so good. But tell your friends and loved ones you are on 2-month work trip.
I'm 50 hours
Or
into Pillars of
something like
Eternity
that.
2, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel like I'm anywhere near the end, but in a good way.
Right. All right. So shall we hit the news?
Yes.
All right. Let's hit the news. Come on. There we go. This is the GameHounds news, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Edie and Nadine Nicola. And our first item is
No one has a job.
yeah. Everybody's getting laid off. What was it, 10,000 at Microsoft?
Yes. So this goes to Microsoft. They laid off 10,000 people, and a number of people from the Xbox division as well. I know a lot of people from Bethesda. I guess some people, we don't know how many people from Bethesda, but they also got laid off. Reportedly, 343 Industries, the developer of Halo, got hit really hard with this. And coming on the heels of Halo Infinite kind of having a really troubled development and really mixed reaction in the months after its release, there was rumors. Someone on Reddit who claimed to be an insider says that one of the reasons 343 Industries was hit hard is because they were looking at the future and had deprioritized DLC content. That basically they were originally planning some single player DLC, but that was deemed not cost effective. And so a lot of that got canceled in favor
Mm-hmm.
of multiplayer content. But it was also rumored in that guy's leak that 343 Industries would be taken off of lead development of Halo games and would basically oversee a third-party developer making games in that universe. Since then, 343 Industries has tweeted out, no, we are still making the Halo games. We are still the ones in charge of it. They sent out like one of the shortest official statements I've seen, but it basically says that 343 Industries will continue to develop Halo now and in the future, including epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. So basically just jumping in to say, no, we are still the lead developers. We're not giving it to a third party, which people have mixed reactions about because the 343 Halo games have not, they've been mixed. They haven't been
Right.
awful,
Right.
but they've all been heavily mixed.
Right. Yeah.
Reception-wise.
343 doing Halo games does not engender a lot of confidence that
Yes,
it's
and
going
it's
to be
both,
good.
and it's mixed reception from both critics and fans. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like it's been a one-sided thing.
Right. I mean, there's a part of me that is very sad that this is all happening and has me concerned about the economy because there are enough tech workers that are all losing their jobs at the same time. Granted, there's a lot of tech jobs available still, but at the same time, I think it's something that is ultimately going to be healthy for the tech industry at large.
Well, what's interesting
Because
is
it's always been bloated. It's always been just a complete, like shit show of just money being thrown around kind of egregiously and without any concern for the health of the company. Because I think, especially with a lot of startups, they were just assuming that a large company would come in and buy them, regardless of what their balance sheet looked like. So they had no problem spending money with abandon that they kind of didn't have. And I think that ultimately is bad for an industry in a whole to be known for being irresponsible with your money.
Mhm.
And I think that the fact that now tech is starting to fall in line with the rest of industry, that you kind of have to show a profit. Does it make me sad that a bunch of developers are losing their jobs? Yes. Does it make me sad that 343 Industries and the developers are Halo, and Halo itself seems to be at a little bit of a at risk? Yes. But was it kind of a long time coming? Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot of the layoffs that have happened recently have hit tech companies, specifically tech companies. Like in
Mm-hmm.
general, it's
Because
not
they're
like,
the worst. They're the worst when it comes to wasting money and not paying
yes,
attention
like
to how much
a
money
lot
they're
of,
bringing in versus how much money they're spending.
yeah, there's been a lot of layoffs in the news recently, and it's mostly focused on the tech sector. And
Mm-hmm.
like,
Speaking of which, do you know what I did this week? You know what happened this week, and you know what I did this week?
did you fire somebody?
No,
You didn't lay off anybody?
I did not lay off anybody. Twitter had their auction of a bunch of like furniture and equipment from their
Oh,
Twitter
right.
offices since they've had all the layoffs because Elon Musk came in and cleaned house. And I got pre-approved because it was an auction. You had to get pre-approved and put a credit card down so that you proved that you were going to spend the money that you said you were going to spend. It's not like eBay where you just bid on something and then you could back out.
But then it's not
This is a real
then it's
auction
not an
house, not
auction.
an internet auction house.
So
And I
wait, that means if
bought,
wait. That means if I go to a real auction house, I like have to I have to say I'm going to spend $100, and I have to spend that much money even if I don't buy
No,
anything?
you have to estimate how much money you're going to spend, and then you have to give them a credit card so that when they send you the invoice of all the things that you won the bids for, if you don't send them that money, they charge you 25% of what you had bid. So it's a
Okay, so it's
penalty. They don't give you the stuff. They'll resell the stuff, but then they also charge you a 25% penalty because they don't want people to do what they do on eBay where they bid something up to $1 million and then ultimately like
and then they
everybody
just
backs
bail.
out and they
Okay,
bail because they
so
just got
it's
in the moment. They wanted to bid on it.
okay, so you're basically giving them a credit card number as collateral so that they can actually charge you when you make a bid.
That they can actually charge you if you fail to pay for the bid after the auction.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Right.
Okay, continue the story.
Continuing the story, I bought a table because they were selling all their kitchen equipment and stuff. Not a ton of kitchen equipment. Apparently, they're no longer serving she lunches Twitter office anymore because they were selling fucking everything out of the kitchen.
I've heard that the Twitter people have to bring their own toilet paper at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So
they essentially sold everything out of their kitchen. So I bought a 40-inch long, 24 by 40-inch butcher block table that was used in their kitchens, and 2 of their very expensive chairs that office chairs, which you're probably going to get one for Christmas. And I'm going to refinish the Twitter table, and if it fits in my kitchen, great, and if not, then I'm going to sell it. But I'm going to completely refinish it and make it look sparkly.
And you'll probably get more for it than they sold it for.
No, it's sold for a premium because it got so much they had a big Twitter sculpture, like the bluebird sculpture, and it went for $100,000.
Oh, AC Rick put a link in the chat that their highest bid was $100,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's still going to owe money next week, though. It could still owe 300 million next week because
they didn't make 300 million. The table was not cheap, but I kind of wanted it. I was actually looking to spend a certain amount of money, and I got outbid on a lot of the furniture that I kind of wanted. So yeah, I'm gonna have my Twitter butcher block table in my kitchen.
Is it like branded Twitter at all?
No, it's just a basic butcher block table you would see in an industrial kitchen.
That's probably for the best.
Right. I'd like to think that Elon Musk was served food that was made on that table. Chances are probably was.
Anyways,
let's see.
More in layoff.
The pizza.
News.
The pizza oven went for $10,000. Now the pizza ovens normally cost $25,000, so it's a good deal, but it was still way more money than I was going to spend, and I don't want a pizza oven. Who's looking at? They sold a lot of espresso machines.
Well, without espresso, how are people going to work hardcore at Twitter?
Apparently, they got to bring their own espresso too. Elon Musk went to Target and bought a Mr. Coffee machine. Anyway, you were saying about layoffs.
Yes, more layoffs. So in addition to Microsoft this week, there were also layoffs at Giant Bomb and GameSpot, which sucks because just a couple months ago, they were bought by Fandom. They were sold by, I think last year they were sold by CBS to Red Ventures, which is like an investment firm. And then they were sold by Red Ventures to Fandom, which a lot of people were worried about because Fandom doesn't exactly have the best reputation for being a good business. And naturally, a couple months after that sale, a bunch of layoffs hit those game journalism sites.
Is there anybody that is at Giant Bomb that's from the original crew, like Gerstmann and everybody else?
The one person who was still there, Jason Ostershaw, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. He was let go. So
Oh.
the last original person was let go, and now it's mostly the new
So
generation.
what is the assets that Giant Bomb has? Because the Giant Bomb was very much personality driven.
Yes, it's
So if they don't have personalities, if they let all the personalities go or they've left previous to this, then what do they
they
have? The
they have
forms?
they have new personalities.
No.
Yeah,
Are
and
they enough to
I
keep people there?
I have watched enough of their content to like it. Some of the people there, Dan Reichert is like kind of the new head content person, and he's a fun person. He's a fun character to watch. He always is entertaining, and the other people that are there, they actually have a daily news show run by Jeff Grubb that is really, really insightful. Like, if you want to keep up to date on gaming news, that is Jeff Grubb's show is the thing to watch, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all those other stuff they make is entertaining. It's not what it was in the beginning. I actually do have I have a
For the
I
record, if you want to keep up on gaming news, you watch GameHounds. Just saying.
Oh, of course, of course. We have the inside scoop on everything.
Everything.
But like a lot of the original cast have gone on to do other things. Nextlander on Patreon and YouTube is made up of Vinny Caravella, Brad Shoemaker, and Alex Navarro, which were three of the original four members of Giant Bomb. And I subscribe to their Patreon, and like, so I still follow the original Giant Bomb people. But it's just interesting to see what was one of the first strictly personality driven sites lose all of those personalities.
Yeah. What was it? Blood Reaper says, you accuse me and AC puts the news in Discord? What do you mean?
Excuse me?
Oh, excuse me. I think that's what I meant. Excuse me. Me and AC put the news in the Discord. It's true. It's true. It's where Nick steals all of his news story. It's from you. You are the engine. You're the fuel in our engine. So I consider you part of the GameHounds team. Oh, it says cause me and AC put the news in the Discord.
Hmm.
True. Not a lie. It's a team effort.
Yes. But anyways, yeah. Layoffs hit everybody.
Got it. Yeah. So my first item is, and then as soon as I do this first item, which is going to get my blood boiling, and then I'm going to probably warm up, but I got to go get a sweater as soon as we're done because it's really cold in the house. I think
No.
they turned down the heat when they left. When my cousins left, they turned down the heat. Anyway, my first item is uh, D&D. We're debuting a new static banner this week in the D&D OGL shit show.
Why can't we ever have a positive permanent banner? Why is it always a shit show that gets the permanent banner? Why can't we have a
Because it's nothing but shit shows this week. I mean, in general, that's what's kind of been the ongoing stuff is these shit shows. This week in the OGL D&D open game license shit show. So first off, uh, Wizards of the Coast, after their first apology, did not go down well. The one where they said, we won. It wasn't you guys won anything. It's we won. We never thought that you were going to be this upset. That we would never steal your content for our own uses, even though that's exactly what we wrote in the new OGL. They issued a new, less glib apology. It came directly from Kyle Brink, who's the executive producer and who was someone that took a lot of heat for when the OGL 1.1 with all of those offensive, odious new rules came in that had to do with if you make money on something that is D&D related, then you need to register with us if you make more than $50,000 a year, revenue, not profit, but revenue. And if you anything over $750,000 revenue, you'd have to pay them between a 20 and 25% licensing fee. Regardless of what your actual profit margin is, you would be paying them 25%. Also, that they would keep all of their all of your content. Anything that was made based on D&D would be kept would be essentially owned by them in perpetuity for any reason and sub-licensable, which could absolutely, the way it was written, be used that they could see your campaign that you wrote for D&D, that you wrote for your friends, for yourself, and put it online and maybe made a little money off of it, selling it. They could use it to like make a movie out of with no compensation to you. So anyway, Kyle Brink was one of the old original Wizards of the Coast people, executive producer there, who took a lot of heat because he is kind of like an old school Wizards of the Coast person who kind of should have known better. But he wrote a new, better apology that said Air D&D, Air D&D. No, not Air D&D. D&D has been a huge part. Let me actually pull it up on my screen because because I'm on my laptop, I kind of have to do this manually. You see it? Yeah. D&D has been a huge part of my life. I was a fan of D&D long before I was at Wizards of the Coast. He said, it's been incredibly tough. Let me start with an apology. We are sorry we got it wrong, period. No flowering it up with stupid platitudes about we rolled a 1. Our language and requirements were disruptive to creators and not in support of our core goals of protecting and cultivating the inclusive play environment and limiting the OGLs to tabletop RPGs. We then compounded things by being silent for too long. And side note, when you did speak, you were kind of dicks. So we hurt fans and creators, and more frequent and clear communications could have prevented so much of this. Starting now, we're going to do this a better way, more open and transparent with our entire community of creators. It's time to iterate, to get feedback, to improve. So here's what he said is going to happen, that on Friday, January 20th, which was this Friday, just this past Friday, they're going to share a proposed OGL document for your review and feedback. I didn't see it, but I haven't heard much about it, so they may not have by then. And then they're going to be collecting feedback on that new proposed OGL. And then after you review it, you will be able to fill out a quick survey, much like the Unearthed Arcana playtest feedback surveys. You will be asked specific questions about the document, include open form fields to share other feedback you have. The survey is going to remain open for at least 2 weeks and will give you an advance notice before it closes so that everyone who wants to participate can complete the survey. We will compile, analyze, and react to and present back what we heard from you. Finally, you deserve some stability and clarity. We are committed to giving creators both input into and room to prepare for any update to the OGL. Also, there's a ton of stuff that isn't going to be affected by the OGL update. So today we'll lay out what areas we won't touch. They're not going to touch. They promise, they swear, pinky swear, cross our heart, hope to die, not going to affect your video content on things like YouTube and Twitch, your accessories for owned content, meaning people that make figurines and tabletop accoutrement to help them play a tabletop game. Non-published works, for instance, contracted services. So if you Want to make your own published works that reference the D&D 5e content, and that's not going to be affected, including paid DM services, which is a thing, very much so, and also for consulting on that kind of stuff as a consultant. Virtual tabletop content. Any updates are going to still allow creators to publish content on virtual tabletops, and will still allow virtual tabletop publishers to use OGL content on their platform, which was a very big deal because, of course, Hasbro, it is Hasbro. Let's not forget, we talk about Wizards of the Coast. It is not Wizards of the Coast that's doing this. They're doing it at the behest of their overlords, Hasbro. So Hasbro is not going to be, and they very much want to have the virtual and digital assets, the digital side businesses of D&D kind of on the lockdown, because they see that that's where that can be microtransacted and monetized and subscriptioned and everything else. So virtual tabletop content that you make on the virtual tabletop platforms are not going to be affected. Virtual tabletop platforms that are not D&D sanctioned, however, clearly they are going to be an issue. DM Guild content, so if DM Guilds publish content, that's not going to be affected. And OGL 1.0A content, which means they're not going to grandfather out everything that was published under the auspices of the OGL 1.0A, which was the one prior to all of the shit show. So if you made it under the old license, then it is excluded from being affected in any new license that they have. They're also not going to require any royalty or financial reporting requirements, and the ownership of your content. This is a big one. You will continue to own your content with no license back requirements. Yeah. Bottom line, this is being better received than anything that was done than the previous, and I'm air quoting, apology that was not an apology. That being said, it's clear that they haven't backed away from changing the OGL. They're changing it. They're collecting back feedback and opinions from the community. It does not mean they will take those to heart, or that sometime in the future, all of these things that they were proposing are going to come back, maybe one at a time, so as not to upset the community quite so much. They'll boil the frog, essentially. There's not a lot of faith within the D&D community at this point that Wizards of the Coast, aka Hasbro, is something that can be trusted. That the damage to their reputation has been done, and the community is absolutely, completely suspicious of anything that's being said. And they're reading between all the lines, and they know that there's something coming, and they don't believe that any feedback that they give, don't change the license, we like it the way it is. Even if every single person says that, nobody believes the Wizards of the Coast isn't going to change it anyway.
So I think the suspicion is warranted, but I do think this is a step in the right direction. It is, and is worthy of cautious optimism.
I would say that it is more like cautious pessimism is in the community right now. Everybody's pretty pessimistic that they're going to do anything that they said that they're going to do. Or if they do it, that it will be a permanent solution. That they will not eventually try to go back. Everyone now knows exactly what Hasbro wants. And everybody knows that Hasbro is going to continue to push for that. Oop, I lost you. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Am I back?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah. Yes. Hasbro will push for it, but if they were intent on pushing for that now, then none of this would be an issue. They would just keep publishing what they said they would, and that would be it. Hey,
Right.
this is what we're doing. Deal with it. The fact that they stopped, the fact that they're reconsidering, the fact that they're going through this whole public comment system is a testament to the fact that I don't think uh I I don't think a lot of the changes that are made will be negative. Also, uh like to a certain degree, the OGL does need to be updated because it was written pre-digital revolution. It was written pre-NFTs. It was written pre-virtual tabletop. It was written pre a lot of things. So a contract like that should be updated to reflect the modern times that we live in. Like that is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
The question is like, what else do they update? And if the update is basically we'll keep everything the same as it is, but we're going to create our own virtual tabletop environment and own everything on there. It's not an exclusive virtual tabletop environment, but like we will have our own system. It's not going to be a walled garden. Like other people can create their own virtual tabletop environments, but if you want to be on our official one, that you have to
Mm-hmm.
make deals with us. That seems entirely fair, right? That doesn't seem egregious or out or greedy or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a path for Woods of the Coast and everyone to take a path that actually does succeed in making everyone happy.
Mm-hmm.
The path is there. It's laid out. It is a possibility now that exists that did not exist a week ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a week ago, the fact that they have put it on paper, at least one of the directors, and I noticed that it was an executive director, not the actual company itself. So the company hasn't made this promise. The executive director has made this promise. And the fact, the two biggest things that I think that made the pitchforks go down and the torches go out, or at least dim, was the fact that older content published under the previous agreement, the previous OGL, is not going to be affected, which I think is only right.
Yes.
And also that registering with them if you make revenue, a certain amount of revenue, isn't there. And that the ownership, at least they say now, that the ownership of anything that you create is yours. I think those are also very small concessions for them to make.
Is it? Those are the biggest sticking points. Those are
Those
the
are the biggest
biggest
sticking points for the
controversies.
community. I don't, right. Those are the biggest controversies. Absolutely. But when you look at the amount of money that they're giving up in that, it's actually pretty small. If you look at the long, big picture, that everything from here on out is going to be covered by this whole new ownership license and whatever it might be. Or everything from here on out is going to be covered by this new agreement, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Potentially, that's more content than ever that was made under 1.0 A.
Sure.
Who knows?
But if it doesn't include that sort of revenue sharing, then it's not like they're making money off of it.
Right. Well, they say they're not going to do royalty. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Yes,
But
a lot of this is we'll see, but
we'll see.
I think both the community backlash, the immediate pivot of other companies from not making D&D the center of the tabletop universe, plus a lot of the like genuine legal questions of is this even possible, has made Hasbro like take a significant step back and actually reconsider like we wanted to make this a very restrictive thing. We don't think that's actually legally or popular.
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking a significant step back and like genuinely reconsidering. This
Yeah, they
feels
definitely
like
put everybody on their back foot. They
this.
definitely put Hasbro on its back foot and Wizards on the Coast on their back foot. But it does not mean that they can't get back on their front foot.
No,
And they
but
probably will.
what this feels like is it feels like an executive from Hasbro came in with this idea, got slipped on a banana peel, fell down a flight of stairs, and now the people are like, okay, maybe we should let Wizards control Wizards. Maybe we should let the people who have been in charge of this product do it because we don't know what we're doing.
No. I think that they're letting the people that are in charge of it go out and keep the masses from murdering everybody in the building.
No, because if that was true, then the
Hasbro
OGL
has
wouldn't
not
change.
given up. The executive has not given up. The executive, who is the head of, I forget what her name was, the head of Wizards, the president of Wizards, has said, we are under monetized. And you have to understand, she's answering to two different overlords. One is the shareholders of Hasbro, and we will talk about that in a minute. The other is the community. And even if the community is happy, but the overlords of, the shareholders are unhappy, that is as perilous as the community being unhappy. And unfortunately, that as of right now, this decision to try to alter this OGL and it leaking has now made those two groups diametrically opposed to each other.
I don't agree about that entirely, but also like there is a way to more monetize D&D that is not doing all the things people are upset about.
Well, speaking of which, and this is a leak that was, come on, not that. That's not what I want to do. Stop it, Tom. All right, so speaking of that, there is a new leak out from the same person who leaked everything else, Linda Cadega. According to her...
Well, no, Linda reported on the leak. She didn't do the leak.
She reported.
She works at Gizmodo.
Right. She's a Gizmodo reporter who has managed to be able to report on the leaks. Well, she's been the one who's been able to provide the leaks. She's the one that's she hasn't leaked the information, but she's gotten the information and printed the leak from her sources.
Yes.
She had a new leak of information provided to her that Wizards of the Coast is going to demand a massive price hike of D&D Beyond. Currently, D&D Beyond is $2.99 for like their basic and $3.99 a month for their executive, like all access premium. That the prices cited in that article will be akin to the most expensive being $30 a month, not $3.99 a month.
Per player.
Per player, meaning not just you can't just have like a guild account or a little group account among your friends, that
it's
you
not
all
just
play together.
It's not just like the DM has this account and they get to funnel things into it.
It is per player, and only the premium $30 a month subscription will allow homebrew campaigns. We'll have homebrew material. That went over pretty significantly poorly, as you might expect, to have what would that be, 10,000%? No, 1,000% increase.
Yeah. So this is where
prices.
This is where me not knowing anything about D&D Beyond comes into play.
To not finish, yeah. Well, Wizards of the Coast has so far denied that, came back and denied that was in the works, but yeah. And so, you were saying this is the downside of not knowing what's in D&D Beyond?
Yeah. Oh, like how do homebrew campaigns currently fit into D&D Beyond? Because from what I understand, D&D Beyond is basically just a digital book. Like it takes all the rules of D&D. Like it's a rule book. It's just a digital rule book. And so you can make a character on D&D Beyond. You have your character sheets, and you can use that to like keep track of your items, keep track of your health during a battle. Like I think you can roll digital dice on there. So it's kind of a virtual tabletop environment, but not really. It's more of just like
A
a
virtual
stat.
assistant.
It's a stat tracking tool, is what it
Right.
basically is. But if it's a stat tracking tool for Dungeons and Dragons games, then to my limited understanding, that feels like it already limits homebrew applications, because you would by necessity have to follow only D&D rules. Like, is there a way to
no,
manipulate the
obviously
system?
not, because people are upset about the fact that you can they're losing homebrew.
Yeah, but I at this point I
back.
don't understand how homebrew actually fits into it. It's hard for me to understand the controversy of what is being lost when I don't even understand the basic functionality as it exists.
Yeah, that's what you got to read. I recall, it's been a long time since I used D&D Beyond, but as I recall, that you can put in your own homebrew rules into it, and it will respond to those homebrew rules, so that you could actually track stuff homebrew as opposed to using the 5e, because sometimes you do want to make certain like house rules.
Oh yeah, I play enough board
game.
games and the house rules where it's like, hey, we're doing this, but you know what? I don't like that rule. Fuck it. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
At the very least, I can understand.
We got Goalie in the chat. Hey, Goalie.
Going from whatever the subscription is, whatever they're offering, going from $5 a month to $30 a month is a bit. I don't care what you offer. That's a huge leap. That makes it one of like the most expensive subscriptions in all of media.
Yeah, like $300 a year. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Imagine all the streaming services you can get for that much.
I won't lie. This is kind of, given the reaction to the original leak of the OGL 1.1, it would not surprise me that someone kind of showed up and threw gasoline on the fire by making something up. D&D Beyond, Wizards of the Coast, absolutely denies it. However, let's not forget that they did. I don't remember the exact amount, but Wizards of the Coast paid an alarming amount of money for D&D Beyond, like $140 million. It's a crazy amount of money. So yeah, it's and Dave says like that's way too much. Still, I want to say, Wizards of the Coast has denied that that's what's going to happen, but it's also exemplifies how the community right now would believe absolutely anything. And it's not like, beyond anybody's ken to be able to say, oh yeah, they're raising it to $30, and like you said, that's ludicrous.
Yes.
The community is not turning around saying that's ludicrous, that's got to be fake news, because at this point nobody believes anything is too low for Wizards of the Coast. And
the optimistic take I will offer is that this was part of the original plan. Like if you take that new OGL, they would implement that with this $30 price hike in order to make it more restrictive and just really milk people.
Mm-hmm.
All the new restrictions in the original new OGL. The original new, what does OGL stand for?
Open game license.
Okay, the original new open game license. The level of
you mean
tone
1.1?
No, 2.0.
Right.
The original revision.
2.0 hasn't happened.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay,
the original version of the new license. Okay, that's right. 2.0. 2.0 seems so tone deaf that this being the new price along with that feels very natural. It feels just as tone deaf. So I could see this being the original plan, and now they're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do $30. Maybe
Maybe
that's
we
a bad
shouldn't.
idea.
Yeah,
And
maybe
the thing
let's just
is,
deny it because we're clearly not going to do it. So let's just deny we were thinking about it.
there, like I said, the path forward, there is potential for them to add enough value to D&D Beyond to up the price to like a Netflix style $15, right? If they're able, and this, granted, what I'm going to say next is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
If they're able to create a like fully featured enough virtual tabletop environment that you could have cool elaborate sets, cool miniatures, if they could get like a video game designer to basically make a video game version of a D&D tabletop thing, a closed system like that, that gives him the ability to microtransaction out little pieces. Hey, maybe you have the ability to use a D&D app to scan your piece like with your phone and put it in there for a fee. Or maybe every time we release a new character, you can buy a version of the character. You can buy them gray for $5, or you can buy them painted for $10. Or you can buy new skins, new paint styles for $10. Like there's a way to super monetize a virtual tabletop environment, but it requires it to be like fully featured enough that you want people to use it.
And just by that definition, the community, because the community was built on this OGL 1.1, because that's what made Wizards of the Coast what it is today, the community would not do it.
I mean,
it could make them pancakes and they wouldn't do it because it is so antithetical to everything that they believed D&D stood for.
See, I don't believe that. I think if they made
it's a culture, it's a very different culture. It's a whole culture that's built on the whole idea of this is open and do what you want and make your own worlds.
And here's the key. It will still be open because they will still allow other people to make virtual tabletop environments. They will still allow people to play with pen and paper and physical things. It's just if Wizards of the Coast makes their own official virtual tabletop environment and makes it good enough that everyone wants to use that one, you can have a super monetized version of that. You can up the price of D&D for that, of D&D Beyond for that, and have it exist alongside all this other stuff going on in the background. Because the whole way D&D works now is that it's the big fish, right? All this other stuff is like to the side. So, they could make a thing that is good enough. If it's good enough, people will use it. I think, and granted, like pen and paper tabletop playing is kind of different than video game playing, and the culture of like sitting with friends and being physically present is different. But if we've learned anything from the process of video games going through all of their monetization controversies, it's that if you give someone like a reasonable product, I won't even say a great product, a reasonable product, and then monetize the ever-loving shit out of it, people will buy it. People will pay $10 to $20 for skins. People will pay $20 for skins of Apex Legends.
Yeah, but that's the video game community and not the D&D community. They're different people. You're treating them all the same, and that was the mistake that Hasbro made.
No, Hasbro
with 1.1, with the OGL 1.1 that pissed people
Hasbro
off.
made the mistake of overstepping. They made the mistake of overstepping. You can step. They tried to monetize it more than video games are monetized. If they monetized it just the same, then it would be fine.
Right, but they would have to make significant changes to the game itself, the whole way that the game is structured, which is what OGL 1.1 was.
No, they don't.
I mean, part of most of what OGL 1.1 is, and probably what OGL 1.2 will be, is that they will be making less of the things that are making it more monetized than video games, so that they can get the things that they can make it monetized like video games.
The thing
And
is,
that's the problem, is that the community does not want that and will reject that under
see,
all circumstances.
the thing is, the community rejected it now because they don't see the alternative. Granted, a lot of the restrictions were bad, but like I said, a new OGL that basically keeps all the stuff in place, but restricts like the official D&D stuff and gives them their own little closed playground to play in. People will accept that. The problem is that Wizards of the Coast, this stuff got leaked, and it was even going to be implemented, right? It was supposed to be implemented by now, wasn't it? They were implementing.
No, I don't
No,
know.
I think even if everything had gone through, if they gone through with the original plan, the OGL 2.0 would have been implemented by now. I think it was like maybe it was like the end of January.
I
But
think it was
anyways,
the end of January they
my
were
point
going to launch
is
it.
the like real miscalculation from Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast is that they tried to implement these new restrictions before implementing anything else. Like D&D is going to have a whole new rule set, like one D&D, but that's not until March or April or something. Like that's not that's several months away. If you want to do it, this is how you do it. This is how EA gets away with charging $20 per skin in Apex Legends. You put out one D&D. Then you make a virtual tabletop environment that you give to people on D&D Beyond for like $10, right? You up it from $5 to $10 and you get access to a virtual tabletop environment with the new 1 D&D rule set. Then you add in things, like you add in pieces and microtransactions to all that. You don't restrict everything the same way, but like you have to give people something to latch onto before you then say, oh, we're changing everything.
Right.
It's not just step by step. Like you can keep everything open, right? The whole openness is that the idea is there's alternatives. You
Right.
can keep that openness and you can keep the alternatives, but you can't
You boil
raise
the frog.
you can't
You
raise
heat
the
up the water
price of a
slowly, you boil the frog.
subscription. But like you can't just raise the price of a subscription before you add in the new features.
Right.
You have to create that environment and then you can raise the
You
price.
have to get people hooked before you start raising the price of the drug.
Yes. You have to like give them something that's actually good so that when you raise the price, they want to keep using it.
Right. And
the
to that point, the reason why that probably hadn't happened, and I haven't heard anywhere else mention this except one other very small video on YouTube. I should say not small, but it was a video on YouTube. They clued me into another video that was an interview with Wizards. Who was it? No, it was with Ryan Dancy. And it was a
I
show
just want
called
to say, Vice.
what?
How bad can some horse armor be?
How bad? Yeah, exactly. It's just a couple bucks.
Mm-hmm.
There was an interview, and I'm going to give proper credit to a YouTube channel and this was done 11 days ago, and they did an interview with Ryan Dancy, who was one of the architects of the original open game license, the one that everybody's been working under.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a 2-hour show? Yeah, 2 hours and 18 show.
Ooh.
But there was one particular section right in the middle of it where Ryan Dancy, when somebody asked why is Wizards of the Coast doing this and why is it so draconian? Why didn't they boil the frog? Why did they put this out here and it was just so far beyond what anyone would accept and so extreme? And why would they do it this way rather than boiling the frog? And Ryan Dancy made a very, very interesting explanation that I haven't heard anyone else reflect. And he said he kind of went back into the history of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. Now, according to him, and I've since went and looked and seen, yeah, it kind of seems like the way it happened. Is for 20 years, Hasbro has owned Wizards of the Coast for 20 years. And for 20 years, whenever they would have investor phone calls, as publicly traded companies do, the hedge funds and all the major investors would be on there and they would be asking questions like, what's the latest My Little Pony thing going on? What's the latest G.I. Joe thing? Because it's Hasbro. They were thinking toys. They were thinking Transformers. They were thinking, what's the latest movie that's going to come out based on a Hasbro property? That's where they were looking, because the way that Hasbro was reporting all of its profits, they weren't sectioning out Wizards of the Coast, specifically on how much does Wizards of the Coast make versus all the other properties. Well, there was a hedge fund group called I'm having a blank. Apex Fox, something Fox, Arctic
Hedgies.
Fox, huh?
Hedgies.
No, it was something Fox, Apex Fox, I think it was.
Foxy Foxes.
Somebody will be able to look this up. I'm sure AC Wraith is already looking it up. And in 2021, I believe, 2021, they released a report. They kind of did a deep dive to say, because they were a major investor in Hasbro, and they did a deep dive into Hasbro to say, all right, where does all of Hasbro's money come from? And their report concluded that some alarming amount, something like 40% of the
70.
profits, of the income, of the revenues of Hasbro comes from Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering, D&D, those things. And that was the first moment when everybody who was an investor went, what? 40% of the company comes from Wizards of the Coast? Hasbro never talked about Wizards of the Coast in their meetings because nobody asked about Wizards of the Coast. They asked about G.I. Joe and My Little Pony and Transformer movies. They didn't know that the vast majority, a significant portion, the biggest single entity that was contributing to their income was Wizards of the Coast games. So all of a sudden, and the other conclusion of this report, and this is the big one, is that hedge fund estimated that if you spun off Wizards of the Coast as its own company, separate from Hasbro, that it would be as valuable as Hasbro is today. Now, if you did that, that doesn't mean that if Hasbro was worth like $1 billion and they spun off and Wizards of the Coast is now worth $1 billion, it doesn't mean that Hasbro would be worth no dollars. Hasbro would still be worth something, maybe not as much as they are now, but more or less what they're worth, because they have all these other properties, which means that every investor who has put money into Hasbro would now own a part of Wizards of the Coast and a part of Hasbro. It would be essentially creating new money out of thin air for these investors. So all of a sudden, the investors started first asking a lot of questions about what are you doing to optimize income from Magic the Gathering, from D&D? How are you increasing our income? Because clearly that's the thing that's making us the monophonic income. They started asking a lot of questions. And when that happened, there was a activist investor push led by this Arctic Fox. I'm sure AC Wraith has the name, this company, Alta Fox Management LLC. Thank you, Alta Fox. Alta Fox was leading an activist investor push to spin off Wizards of the Coast, which Hasbro doesn't want to do because that's where most of their money comes from, and it kind of hides the weaknesses that are present in other things like My Little Pony, like Transformers movies. So their response to fight off Alta Fox and its push to force Hasbro to spin off Wizards of the Coast was to start to really ramp up monetization. And that's why why they didn't boil the fox, because they didn't have time. Sorry, boil the frog. They didn't have time, the luxury of time to boil the frog. They had to turn up the heat immediately because they had somebody breathing down their neck that if they didn't do anything to increase revenue significantly, very quickly, that the actual owners of the company, the investors, would force them to split Wizards of the Coast off, exposing all the weaknesses of everything else under the Hasbro banner. And
So
I want to give
they were
thank you
working
for that
on the
link.
shareholder timeline as opposed to
Right.
Wizards of the Coast timeline.
So yeah, that's the from this February, say 2022, a year ago. That's when what they called the proxy fight. That's activist investors taking the vote to all the shareholders to vote, should we spin off? And they barely, by the thinnest of margins, beat it by saying we're going to heavily monetize and start really churning out increased profits from Wizards of the Coast. So they were under the gun.
Is that a thing that happens on an annual basis, or is that something that was
proxy votes?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always proxy votes.
Okay, it just happens anytime.
Right. A proxy vote happens all the time in all companies, but that's where you vote for who wants to be, do you vote for these people on the board of directors? Do you approve of the CEO? Do you approve of this, that, and the other? Do you approve of Price Waterhouse being the company that audits the company? And investors can bring investors of significant ownership can either individually or band together and bring their own proxy vote to their own vote. They can essentially put it on the ballot for all investors, even the person who owns a single share, to vote on.
Because looking at the timeline of that happened February of last year. If there's another kind of voting happen in February of this year, this makes a really strong case against Hasbro.
They usually happen right about the time that they release, usually accompanies the release of the year-end figures, which happens in February. So I would imagine they're going to have another proxy vote in February, or another proxy in February when they release their numbers. However, that being said, nothing can go. It's too late to put something on this year's proxy ballot. But proxy votes can come at any time. Enough angry investors can band together and force a proxy vote, kind of like having like a recall election. It's very much like voting everywhere else, like voting for your city council members. Sometimes the votes are just like, okay, it's just, your normal stuff. Check, 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 check. You're done. Most small investors don't even vote. Most shareholders, most stockholders don't vote, because it's really the hedge funds and the big companies that really care about this crap. But when you get people's dander up, like there were proxy votes to remove Elon Musk from from being CEO of
Tesla.
CEO of Tesla. There was a proxy vote to the owners of Twitter demanding that they accept Elon Musk's offer.
Oh, well, yeah, because it was an absurd offer.
Exactly. Even though it was bad for the company, and they knew it was bad for the company, it was good for them because that was a very high price for the stock that they held. So yeah, that's the first time, and I'm leaving this link right there, and I will tell you where to look. The explanation is very clear, absolutely fascinating, and the first time I have heard anyone explain very clearly and very reasonably an explanation like that actually holds water of why this happened now, why it looked the way it did, and why they didn't do that way that you suggested, which would have been the quote unquote right way of creating something that everybody liked and used and then slowly started to monetize them. They couldn't, because they would lose their jobs. Wizards of the Coast would have been spun off. It's that explanation starts 1 hour and 12 minutes and 38 seconds into this this video right here. Really, really interesting. So absolutely go check that out if this is spurring you on. But I'm so surprised that no one has picked that up except only one other channel that I noticed, that this isn't something like, oh, this is why it's happening, that everybody's focused on it's happening and the day-to-day details, and nobody's really focusing on the why it's happening and really tying it back to yay capitalism. Thank you very much. Absolutely true, Vice. Yay capitalism. About how this isn't, you can't look at this about the way of a business doing something of its own volition. This is absolutely being driven by the fact that Hasbro is a public company and that Wizards of the Coast is so damn profitable, and the investors want this to be a separate company, and they're the ones driving it. They're the ones that can vote and obviously have the votes, because they only missed it by that much in last year. So here's my prediction based on, if that's true, and considering the source, considering the fact that this absolutely holds water, considering that I went back and looked at that, the name of the report was called Free the Wizards. It was hard to find. I had to go back on the Wayback Machine to find it, to read it. And it absolutely backs up what I want to say Mark Dara is not. What it absolutely backs up what Ryan Dancy said. Absolutely, that I predict not this February, but I predict at some point in the next year, and at the very latest, February 2024, Wizards of the Coast will be spun off into its own company, and then it will get heavily monetized. Then they will have the time to boil the frog, to create all of the apps and all of the things that people will want to use, and then eventually start to monetize it. Seriously monetize it.
Which again, I would like to reiterate, you can do that in a way that is good for everybody.
You can do that in a way that's good for everybody. It's possible.
And if they're their own company, they'll have time to do it in a way that's good for everybody.
They probably can, because they do. If anything, this whole last week or two has been a lesson in how important it is to not piss off the community when it comes to D&D and to Magic the Gathering. Because I've heard, and I don't know if we reported last time, that within a very short period of time of calling for a boycott of D&D Beyond, something like 40 or 50,000 people canceled their D&D Beyond subscriptions, which
it was a lot.
And that is absolutely straight to the bottom line. That is money lost, and much of it never to come back again.
Yeah, well, that's
the
also,
kind of stuff that
easy,
shareholders take very seriously.
And that's a very easy metric by which to judge things, right? Because upset people, like, oh, I'm not going to buy one D&D when it comes out. Well, first you have to wait for it to come out. Then you have to wait a couple months to see how those sales measure up against 5e. D&D Beyond any subscription is a very immediate measurement. Like it's a metric by which things are easily judged.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah,
the difference, stockholders care about money. Losing 40 to 50 or even more thousand subscribers instantly is a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
straight out, it is dollars and cents. Now, like you said, upset community, that's not money. That's just upset people. That happens all the time. But actually losing money,
Yeah.
And that shows up on the bottom line. That shows up in the statements and shows you lost money this year compared to last year. And that's the rule about publicly owned companies.
You cut out right as you were teaching us the lesson. This is the one thing you need to know. It's are you back? Oh nope. You're still quiet. Did you mute yourself? Wait, I think you're muted. You're texting. Your
All
symbol
right,
has
can
a
you
little
hear
mute.
me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, now I need to change my earbuds
Yeah.
pooped out on me.
Okay, well,
So
it's
I
too
have
late
to
now. The moment is past.
reconfigure everything.
Whatever lesson you're going to say, it's
I
forever
can't hear
unlearned.
you, Nick.
We just have to move on to the
I lost your
next
audio.
story.
Can you hear me? Nod. Okay, I can't hear you.
Oh,
So
no.
I'm going to let you go do whatever you want to, talk about. I'm going to go sort out and figure why I can't hear you because you can hear me, I can't hear you.
Yes.
So
Okay,
go do your other thing. I'll be right back.
Okay, we will take this opportunity to go through some of the more fun and entertaining news of the week and less of the horrible stuff. One of the things, okay, one of the good news to come out this week is that EA and specifically DICE has announced that they will be bringing an update to Battlefield 2042 that re-adds classes to the game. When the game first came out, it was met with pretty negative reception. One of the reasons was that the class system, which had governed Battlefield games since the beginning, was replaced with a specialist system that was more of a hero shooter akin to Overwatch. And a lot of people did not like that. The class system, it's been around. It's kind of a staple of the franchise. And without it, people just didn't feel that the specialists actually did enough to justify their existence. The class systems are nicely specialized, where assault class feels different than sniper class, which feels different than support class. They feel distinct, and the specialists did not do enough to make them feel distinct from each other. And so the game has been chugging along with this very unliked specialist system for the past year and 3 months since it came out. By the end of this month, by the end of January 23, they will patch the game to add classes back into it, which is it's a long time coming. It's about time. It's a good timing since one of our friends has recently gotten an Xbox and 2042 is available on Game Pass. So maybe this is the time to actually start playing it. This is the time to jump in. The next news, this is just kind of a fun one. Apparently, someone had set up a stream through which a fish would basically play Pokemon Silver and Violet. And it worked in the way that a lot of the Twitch plays things did, where you basically have a system set up so that it's looking at some icons and as the fish swims around, if it swims over the A icon, the algorithm interprets that and pushes the A button on the Switch. If it swims over the icon for left, the algorithm takes that and moves left. Well, the fish somehow managed, as it was playing through Pokemon, I think Silver and Violet, one of those, as it was playing through these games, it happened to quit out of the game, go to the Switch home screen, open the Switch eShop, and go through the process of buying some DLC. And so the Twitch was able to commit a credit card purchase. And probably one of the most impressive things about this is that uh, the user was actually able to get refunded for it. Nintendo actually honored the refund. Oh, I heard a beep. Is Edie back? No. Oh, yes.
I am. Sorry.
Okay. Just in time to hear about Fish committing credit card fraud.
Okay.
Yeah, so a Fish was able to play through a game on Twitch, exit out of the game, go into the Nintendo eShop, and make a purchase.
Good for him.
Yes,
Good for him.
the Fish just really like Pokemon.
God, what time is it? It's 4:30. All right.
Yes, so I've got a couple other fun news stories.
Okay.
So Metal
Actually,
Gear
before you
Solid.
do a fun news story, let me do another non-fun news story. There's a couple of other ones.
Okay.
But I'm going to bypass a couple of them. Two real fast ones. One, Crystal Dynamics has announced that it's going to end support
Look,
of.
That's a mercy killing.
Yeah. It kind of sort of is. So
End
the
support of
details
Marvel's
are,
Avengers. Sorry.
yeah, they're going to end support of Marvel's Avengers. And that's going to be starting March 31st. All the game's marketplace challenge cards and shipment cosmetic content will be made available to all players for free. And then after September 30th, 2023, quote, we can't guarantee we will be able to address issues that occur due to unforeseen circumstances. So essentially, they're ending support. So they're making everything free. They're opening the gates, and then they're letting it go. The other quick and not so great item is that Ubisoft has canceled Skull and Bones pre-orders. Yes, you read that right. That does not bode well for the game. They are being automatically refunded by the PlayStation Store. In particular, it's the people who have ordered or pre-ordered the $100 deluxe edition have received a full refund from PlayStation as of Friday. So that could be the fact that it was delayed into a window that is much, much, much later, maybe even next year, or it could be that they're not releasing it. But it does not seem like, I mean, you and I both said that they're releasing this game. They have to release this game. That the Indonesian government, they're by contract, want to release this game. The fact that it got so close to release that they actually had closed beta testing and that closed beta testers were saying good things about it, and then now it's turning around and not only delaying for a sixth time, refunding pre-orders. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it ain't good for Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
So the release window, by the way, on the PlayStation Store does read 2023. So maybe it'll come out this year. Don't know.
Don't hold your breath.
Last week I disagreed with you on that. This week I'm not disagreeing with you. Don't hold your breath. That it may very well be that they decide that it is worth having to pay the penalty for the contract to the Indonesian government to not put it out for whatever reason, whether it's because it's a bad game or whether it's because of internal stuff going on. Because Ubisoft had a whole other story about how Yves Guillemot told told the developers in their Paris studio that we have to do a better job putting out games, and it's going to be a really tough time because we're not putting out really good games, and the ball is in your court, and you need to really double down and start working harder. And by the way, a strike has been called for next week by the union that represents the developers and people that work at Ubisoft because of that. They're really pissed off because It's
Yeah.
not on them to fix it.
It
It is
sounds like
on management to fix the
management blaming
problem.
workers.
It's management blaming workers. It's absolutely. And on top of that, blaming workers in such a way that he's saying, hey, you need to start crunching harder.
Mm.
Meanwhile, he's going home to his comfy bed.
And I have just another story. This is more of a funny one because Ubisoft continues this joke that they have, this prank that they've been playing on the gaming community for the past several years. They continue to play this joke, and they say that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in development.
They say it's still in development.
You know, it was funny the first
So
couple
skull and bones at this
times.
point.
It was funny the first couple times, but it feels like now they're just like beating the same joke into the ground. And
now it's now it's just sad. Now it's just it's painful to hear. It's really painful to hear.
I'm sure they got someone just like doodling Beyond Good and Evil 2 logos. And they're like,
all work and no play makes Beyond Good and Evil. All work and no play makes Beyond Good and Evil. All work and no play makes Beyond Good and Evil.
And then the other fun story I had. Oh, do you want me to do the fun one, or did you have other ones?
Do the fun one. I'm done with all the doom and gloom.
Okay. Apparently there was a test. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. There was a. Let's see. Someone is writing a book about artificial intelligence in the military, and the defense editor for The Economist got a preview copy of it, and he shared one of the anecdotes in that book, which was about an AI robot's human detection algorithm. So basically, some soldiers were told to spend like a week walking around this robot in order to train it to how to recognize humans moving, so that it could recognize seeing people in the field. So after a week, the developers of this decided to kind of pit it against each other and put the robot in the middle of a big field and told the soldiers, okay, you have to get close to it, because they wanted to see how well the human detection algorithm worked. Well, there were several ways that the soldiers bypassed it. One of which was the Metal Gear Solid defense of hiding in a cardboard box. of like putting a cardboard box on and moving up. Other people, one of them basically dressed up like a tree and used that, like a preschool kids tree.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Another one just did backflips. They just did backflips to the whole 50 meters because the AI is trained to recognize human movement. That's not human movement.
No.
So you just backflip up to the robot and then you're there. And AC Ray says these aren't the Marines you're looking for. And there's a lot of fun responses to this. Of the fear of AI is that oh, it's so smart, but the truth is like AI anything is really good at doing one thing, and the moment you like shift direction a little bit, it becomes incredibly stupid.
Mm-hmm. So what was the other fun story?
That was the fish making a purchase through the Switch eShop. Mm-hmm. And then I thought I said something else. Oh yeah, classes are coming back to Battlefield 2042. Okay. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club, the people that make the Bored Ape NFTs, one of their new video games, I guess, I don't know what the game is. It's basically like an endless runner, but they have made an event for this endless runner game that basically involves literally playing an endless runner where you go through a sewer chasing a piece of monkey.
You need
shit.
to put that in full screen.
Okay. So this is basically a monkey has a giant dump and shits out a key into a sewer, and you play an endless runner mini game flying through the sewer looking for the keys. And there's a whole lot of NFT bullshit around it, but it's just the headlines write themselves about NFTs and shit.
Yeah, in sewers, especially going down into the sewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
this is one of the first like official video games from the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I think they raised like this. The Kotaku article mentions that they raised like $450 million in venture funds for their gaming initiative, and you get literally shit out of it.
Oh my God. Will
So
the NFT bros ever learn?
what's interesting is watching that video about, oh, this is how our event works, this is blah blah blah. Watching it, like at a certain point I was following along. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, it's basically an endless runner with boosts, and the boosts are basically NFT bullshit, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, hey, I've got a special thing that doubles my coins for an hour, except that coin doubler is an NFT. And so, hey, maybe I can sell my coin doubler to you. Look, NFT bullshit. But then it kept going and it kept going. And at a certain point, I'm just thinking, this is way more complicated than it needs to be. This is horribly complicated for what should be a stupid little mini game.
That's what NFTs are. Is
Mm-hmm.
they rely upon they rely upon the seemingness of legitimacy by making things more complicated. But wait, there's this other mechanic that does this, and that's. I mean, you look at things like Crypto Zoo, where it was just incredibly complex. You had the zoo coin, and then you had the eggs, and then you had the crossbreeding, and
Yeah. It's just adding layers between you and the game.
right.
And then the other quick news story I had, one that's kind of interesting,
Hmm.
that's actually kind of tangentially related. There's a Rainbow Six film in the works from the director of John Wick, which is
Hmm.
pretty cool. Like anything that guy does, I'm interested in.
Right.
But this isn't an adaptation of the video game. This is an adaptation of the book, which is a sequel to the 2020 Amazon movie Without Remorse that starred Michael no, not Jordan Peterson, Michael B. Jordan, very different person.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan starred in this like Tom Clancy action movie called Without Remorse in 2022 that Amazon bought. That movie ended with basically a tease of him creating this super elite task force with which within the Clancy verse is Rainbow Six.
Hmm.
So I think it's amusing how this factors into the convoluted weirdness that is the Rainbow Six brand, because it's a thing called Rainbow Six that has no relation to the games or even Ubisoft.
Hmm.
It's an adaptation of a video game. No, it's an adaptation of a book, which was then adapted and spun off into several other video games. It's
Yeah.
just it's
It's
entertaining.
the
It's
Tom Clancy verse just keeps going and going
and
and
it's just
going.
amusing that a movie will come out that has the same name of a video game that is based on the same property of the video game and will have less to do with the video game at all.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Rainbow Six and Tom Clancy. I firmly believe that after the bombs drop, the only thing that's going to be left is cockroaches and Tom Clancy stuff.
Vice says that the book was a fun read, the Rainbow Six book. That's good.
Anyway, so anything else? I mean, we're getting pretty late. I've still gotta take a shower.
Yeah.
I still gotta pack, and then I gotta go home because I gotta be up in the morning to go into the office. Because yay, my last week of work is gonna be awesome.
I've nothing important.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I hate to do that. I mean, hate to end so unceremoniously quickly, but like I said, time is of the essence. So on that note, let's close this out. You've been listening to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 667. We recorded this on Sunday, January 22nd, 2023. I'm Edie Sellers. With me has been Nick Danicola. Thanks for listening to us. If you ever want to get a hold of us, gamehounds.net is our website, and gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We record this show live every Sunday. Every Sunday, please come on, computer. Every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and on YouTube. You can find us, find us on Twitch and YouTube. Twitch is the GameHounds, and YouTube, you can find us under GameHounds Vids, VIDS as in videos. We'd love to have you, and thank you to everybody who's in the chat room. We had, of course, Blood Reaper, we had Bitters, we had Vice, we had, of course, AC Rape, everything that we talked about. He's created a link and put it in the chat of both YouTube and Twitch. So please feel free if you want to source anything we talked about, that's where it's going to be. Who else do we have? We had Bitters, we had, for a minute there, we had Goalie. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching. If there's anybody else I missed in the chat room, sorry, apologies, but thank you for listening. We do record the show as an audio podcast. Yes, I will, I promise. I'm going to update the audio podcast. I swear to God, I'm going to do it this week. You can find that on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, anywhere where you can find podcasts. Thank you. We're now 7 episodes behind. I'm aware. Thank you. But you'll find us there. And if you do listen to us, wherever you listen to us, please leave us some feedback. We do appreciate it. If you are watching us on Twitch or on YouTube and you haven't subscribed to us, please do so. If you're watching to us on YouTube, please like this show. If you liked anything, or if you didn't like it, go ahead and unlike it. That's cool. We take that as feedback. We want to know what you think. Thank you again for listening. We will talk to you next week. Bye, everyone. And I'm going to be back at home, so you can actually hear and see much better eating. Have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye. We're out with the audio show, still on the video. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being there. And thank you for the link to the repulsion harness from back in the early part of the show. Yeah, the repulsion harness is the shit. It's worth the money, trust me. And thanks for the little thing on the phone. I know this. I have an alert on my phone that goes off every single hour to remind me to post podcasts. And every single hour.
It's too often, because now it's just background noise.
Now I just ignore it. It sort of is. But at the same time, I also see it, recognize it, and go, I have to post a podcast. And it's always, this next week, 2 weeks really, is going to be absolute hell for me, because I'm trying to clean up everything that I have at work. That's insane. Work is also bringing me into the office, which slows everything down because people always want to talk to me.
Human interaction.
And it's I already have enough people calling me on the phone to delay what I'm doing. I don't need to talk to you to delay me more. I'm sorry to bounce, but I've still got to break my audio, my astrophotography stuff down and pack it away. I still got to pack. I'm thinking I'm not going to take a shower before I leave. I'm just going to get in the car and go home and take a shower before I go to bed. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for dealing with all of the technical issues of me not being at home and using, AirPods that run out of battery and everything else. So, and again, as always, thank you so much, AC Wraith, and everybody in the chat room for being here. There's a reason why I suffer through all of this technical stuff, and I'm here later than I intended, simply because you are the most important part of my week. Don't tell anybody else that, but you're the most important part of my week. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, cat butt.